They allow us to live because we follow their rules. Do not turn your back to the mirror. Do not open the door after dark.
Let me inside.
Do not go near the burrows. Always stay in the light.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Khare, and on behalf of Gold House and Warner Brothers, I'm so excited to be hosting this chat with the one and only Ishana Night Shyamalan, who is incredibly young, but so extremely accomplished, especially for her age, and the director of the upcoming thriller, The Watchers. So welcome, Ishana. I'm so excited to chat with you. I guess my first question is, how are you feeling on the eve of your theatrical directorial debut? That's nothing.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like a total mix of emotions for me. I think like equal levels of nervousness and excitement. It's such a wild thing to have. It's something that's been a very personal, kind of profound experience become something that is now a collective experience. So I'm just really excited to see how everyone reacts, and I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah, and you mentioned that it's been a personal experience for you, and I think there are a lot of reasons as to obviously why that's the case, because this is such a milestone for your career. But tell me a bit more about that. What makes this story specifically personal to you?
I think there's so much, just like by way of, I think, how I make art, I'm just putting kind of like my emotions into it. And particularly I was writing it like as I was 23 and going through all these things and feeling lots of things, and it was all going into the script. It's definitely kind of infused with like the personal things I was feeling and experiencing at that moment. And then it's also just been like, the kind of filmmaking experience itself has taught me so much and like pushed me to so many of my limitations and forced me to kind of grow and like expand as a human being. So I'm just so grateful for it.
That's such a beautiful thing when art can be a part of your own growth and formative process.
Absolutely. I think that's like the greatest thing, is that you don't think it's going to be that rewarding, but it really does speak back to you and give back to you kind of tenfold.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to start from the beginning and learn more a bit about your involvement. Like, how did you go from picking up the novel and reading it to deciding to adapt it, pitching, filming, production, and finishing it? What was that whole timeline like?
Yeah, it was crazy. So it was basically, kind of, I had worked on this show called Servant and was interested in moving into a feature space and was like ideating upon different things. And then a producer brought me this book and was just like, take a read, see what you think. And like I couldn't stop reading it. I read it so quickly. And by the time that I had finished it, I was like, this is amazing. This is just a rare piece of art. I thought it was so elegantly done, so scary and cool. And just like made my mind already go wild with all kinds of visuals and thoughts. So it was very much from there. I just started writing. I spent like about a year writing the script, and that was a totally like torturous, crazy process. And then it just started going. Then I pitched and was so happy that Warner Brothers New Line was like interested in the movie, and they've been so wonderful and supportive. So just kind of was like, it moved from there.
Wow, that's amazing. And how long was that process from beginning to end?
I think overall now it was probably like 2.5 years or so. So it's been a bit, but yes, feels
That's
like
amazing.
It went so fast.
And you recently graduated from NYU. Were you writing this while you were in school?
No, I had graduated at that point. I was one of those who graduated during pandemic time. So I was like working and doing online classes and things like that. But it was right after I'd finished Servant. So I think, in 2021-ish or something that I kind of started ideating upon this thing.
That's so awesome. And when it comes to adaptation, I was curious about your process specifically for that. And were there any choices that you made that diverted from the original plot, or that you got to work with the author on directly?
Definitely. Yeah, it was very much like I think I was aware of that kind of discourse that happens between book and movie where there is a sense of loss sometimes, I think, from what a book has into a movie form. So I was really wanting to sort of honor what the author had built. I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful story. So the movie very much exists as like what I was envisioning and how I saw it the first time that I read the book. And the author I was really lucky to kind of have him involved in the process. He became one of my good friends while we were shooting. He lives in Ireland, and he was like on set all the time, and we hung out all the time, and kind of gave him multiple drafts and talked about where I wanted it to go. And he was just so supportive and lovely. And I think felt like we were kind of both doing different things and creating our own pieces of art, but doing it together.
That's amazing. And I mean, that requires such a level of maturity too, when you are basically taking someone else's original
Yeah,
vision and using your own vehicle of artistry to transform it into a different medium. So that's
absolutely.
awesome.
Thank
And
you.
also, something on the topic of collaboration that I thought was really amazing about the film was your collaboration with Eli Aronson, the DP of this
Yes.
movie.
Oh,
I'd love to hear a bit more about that, and specifically from a technical perspective. Like,
mhm.
you guys accomplished filming in one of the toughest locations, aka a room with a mirror,
Yes.
in a seemingly invisible camera. And this is something that we've seen a lot in thriller and horror films over time. And a
Yeah.
lot of directors have used like different techniques, both practical and VFX, to
Yeah.
accomplish these types of trickery. So I was curious y'all's approach for this.
He's just wonderful. He's like just such a talented DP and such a cool guy. We had so much fun kind of putting it together. It was all storyboarded ahead of time. So we had a good kind of prep process of talking about every single shot in the movie and how we were planning to accomplish it. And the mirror was, one of the kind of big elements that we kind of had to discuss ahead of time. I think we had like 5 or 6 schedule meetings between him, me, the AD, and our producer about like how are we going to configure this so we can shoot these scenes in the right way. And it was a lot of different little tricks in the movie that we're using, like some moments where we had 2 cameras kind of like shooting opposite each other. And so you're seeing the front of the actors and the back of them, and then comping in the actual mirror in the front. Some scenes where we had to take out the camera, of course. And then just like picking angles that we could avoid it as much as possible. So it was a really fun, like that piece of it, that kind of mathematical approach. I think we both felt like a sense of thrill from, and it was really cool to kind of decode.
Wow, that's really interesting. And when you're filming on set with the actors, was it a lot of stopping and starting for the sake of the camera in that capacity and helping to bring the actors back in to their emotional place for continuity?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I try to I think it's like my approach to try and preserve their headspace as much as possible. So we tried to kind of keep things as sequential as we could. I'm very much a filmmaker who I already in my head like have thought about where I want to cut the shots. So I'll only shoot basically a part of a scene or a couple lines so that I only have that ability in the edit room to kind of cut the shots together in the way that I wanted to. So that was kind of an interesting piece of it, that it was very much like piecemeal. Okay, this part of the scene is shot in this way and no really overall coverage of the whole things.
Wow, that's amazing. That is so much to balance. And I was also curious just about, there understandably might be a lot of pressure on you in this position, your first theatrical release film. How did you balance just all of the stress of the various departments and personnel you're working with? It's clear from the credits list that you have such an amazing group of collaborators to work with. But how did you approach all of that, just you as a director?
Oh my gosh, it was so stressful. I was like, quite anxious the whole time, and I mean, I think I just sort of like did my best to live healthy habits. I think that was really a big piece of it, where I felt like I needed to sleep appropriately, like make sure I was getting enough sleep, make sure I was eating healthy, because it really, I think any filmmaker just challenges your headspace in a very intense way. So to have like all the resources that I could control being like dealt with in an appropriate way, I think was really helpful. And then I had like wonderful friends around me and wonderful family. That was a great support system. So it was just like leaning on them when I needed it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And obviously, you get to collaborate with your dad a lot, which
Yes.
is an incredible feat in and of itself. As
Yes.
so, like collaborating with your parents is that's amazing in and of itself, and so exciting. And of course, he's someone I'm sure you have a lot to look up to there with his incredible vast knowledge of the genre too. I'm curious how you guys navigate that relationship together on set, because he's, I'm sure, used to being in the director's chair.
Yeah, it was such an interesting dynamic. I think us both being creatives, I think we're both like quite strong personalities as well. So there was like moments of super fun kind of banter between us. But it very much he was like very, very supportive, I think, from the start of me sort of achieving the vision that I wanted. I think he knew it was like important to me to sort of finish the movie with a product that I loved. So it was very much like me kind of going to him for advice on challenges that I didn't know how to overcome, and he kind of always encouraged me just like to breathe through it. He was like, you know, you can make your way through, and it was just helpful to have someone who's done it before and who feels the same things that I feel, and say it's gonna be fine. You're gonna figure it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys have also collaborated together on Servant, and
Yeah.
as well as when you were second unit director on Old.
Yes.
I'm curious about how those experiences, specifically for television, for a streamer, as well as second unit directing, which is such a specific skill set, prepared you for being number one director.
Well, I think Servant was a very cool kind of process for me because it was very much learning the techniques and skill sets of both writing and directing with a safety net of a lot of different things, of like someone else's vision had already been put into place. And so it was very much like using those skill sets and learning them for the purpose of creating a product that fit into this particular show. So there was less like emotional strife in that way, and I really enjoyed just being able to like move quick and kind of try and adapt and be light on my toes. And then Old for me was like one of the coolest experiences ever. Because we shot in the DR, which was just so wonderful. And because we shot on film, which is just like a whole different art form to do. It has like a lot more preciousness and preparation that goes into it. So that was really cool. I think that taught me quite a lot about how to sort of prepare for a shot before you even roll. It was just quite wonderful that he let me do that on that movie. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was also, curious about your involvement with Dakota Fanning in this project.
Yes.
I saw that she was your number one choice for the role of Mina, which is amazing to get your number one choice talent.
So cool.
And she, of course, is also someone like your dad who has a ton of experience in the thriller genre.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it like working with her and collaborating in the director-actor space?
It was so cool. Yeah, she very much kind of came to mind early on. I think she sort of is this figure that has like resonated for whatever reason with me, and I think with like our generation. She's one of those people that you sort of remember. She's got this kind of like, intangible, otherworldly quality about her, and also is a very kind of cool, normal girl. So I was very excited by like the prospect of that to have someone very, very grounded and compelling at the center of this movie. And it was amazing. I was so lucky that she was down to do this and into it. And we had lots of cool chats. It was great just to like have someone close to my age being at the center of it, another young woman. It felt really like it made me very happy to have that be kind of the center point of the whole movie.
That is so fantastic. Ishana, I think that's the end of our time, unfortunately. I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
I know, so much more to talk about.
Well, congratulations. And
Thank
thank you, everybody
you.
watching, for tuning into our Gold Talk chat. And if you want to see Ishana's work in action, be sure to check out The Watchers, only in theaters on June 7th. Thank you
Cool.
so much.
Thanks. So good to talk to you.